The discovery of an object from outside our solar system is sparking debate in the scientific community. The object is called 3I Atlas.
From images, we also saw that this object is active, which is an indication that this object is in fact a comet.
For years, astronomers watched 3I Atlas drift through space, just another comet or so they thought. But at exactly 2 a.m. UTC, 9 glowing objects appeared around it, instantly. No drift, no debris, just sudden formation. Infrared scans showed they were radiating 20 gigawatts each, and then one of them sent a signal to the moon. That's when governments went silent. Because what followed next wasn't just bizarre, it suggested something terrifying. They were scheduled to arrive.
We'll pick out objects that are moving inside of the 4 frames, and we have to identify if they are real or if they are false detections.
The vanishing moment, how 9 objects appeared out of nowhere.
We've got some fresh images of 3I Atlas, a third ever interstellar object observed from Earth.
For months, astronomers had been tracking what they thought was just another interstellar curiosity, 3I Atlas. It was only the third confirmed object to ever enter our solar system from the outside, following the cigar-shaped Oumuamua in 2017 and the icy Borisov in 2019.
This comet's really cool because it does have that tail from the sun's radiation blasting it, but it also has a forward-facing tail.
But 3I Atlas already behaved like it had its own rules. It moved too fast, followed a hyperbolic orbit that would fling it out forever, and radiated a strange green hue. Most assumed it was just weird space rock physics, until September 19th, 2:00 a.m. UTC. That's when an amateur astronomer perched in the dry mountains of northern Chile took a snapshot that shattered expectations. In his telescope's long exposure frame, 9 faint points of light surrounded Atlas in a perfect ring. At first, he assumed it was lens flare or camera noise, but then he noticed something chilling. They were moving with Atlas, not behind it, not scattered, but as if locked in an invisible geometric net.
We cannot really pinpoint the nucleus size. It's partially due to the size of the object, but also it's partially due to the activity.
Within hours, confirmations came in. The James Webb Space Telescope, the Very Large Telescope in Chile, and even the Hubble Space Telescope all captured the same formation. 10 objects, Atlas at the center with 9 equally spaced companions. What came next shocked even seasoned astronomers. After digging through telescope data from just the previous day, no trace of the companions could be found. Not one. According to Harvard astrophysicist Avi Loeb, the objects didn't drift into view. They appeared, not gradually, but suddenly within less than 1 millisecond, about 30,000 times faster than the blink of a human eye. That type of instantaneous appearance violates almost every known law of natural physics. Fragmentation happens with force, debris, dust, but these 9 escorts showed no such signs. And if that sounds like science fiction, you're not alone. Several observatories initially dismissed the data as a glitch, but when Webb's infrared spectrum, Hubble's visible light scans, and amateur radio telescopes all aligned, the denial broke. We weren't looking at a comet with fragments. We were staring at a fleet, and their suddenness suggested one thing above all: intent. The energy paradox, 20 gigawatts in a city block shell.
How amazing is it that we humans have a word for something that literally flies between stars, and so far...
At first glance, these objects looked like standard rocky bodies, but spectral analysis from Webb's NIRSpec instrument told a very different story. Each of the 9 companions was radiating close to 20 gigawatts of thermal energy, more than double the heat signature of 3I Atlas itself. That's enough energy to power a mid-sized country, crammed into a volume no larger than a few city blocks. Even more alarming, their heat wasn't fading as they moved further from the sun. It was increasing. Natural comet fragments don't do that. They cool, lose activity, and fall apart. These were heating up, sustaining their internal temperature like reactors. But it wasn't just heat. Spectroscopy revealed a shared metallic composition between Atlas and its companions. High concentrations of nickel, cobalt, and traces of tantalum, a rare metal used in modern aerospace capacitors. These aren't minerals typically found in pristine interstellar ice balls. They're engineered materials. This led some researchers to propose an unthinkable theory. What if these weren't natural bodies at all, but machines? Self-contained interstellar probes riding with Atlas like scouts. The structure of the energy output didn't match radiation leakage or thermonuclear reaction patterns. Instead, it showed consistent frequency modulation, as if something inside was regulating it. Think fission cores, particle accelerators, or exotic drive systems, and it gets worse. When physicists tried to model the internal density required to contain that much energy in such a small space, the simulations failed. You'd need exotic matter, or some form of energy field containment we don't even have on the drawing board.
That new measurement then helps better predict the orbit fit next time someone needs to observe it to follow it up.
Antimatter catalysis? Maybe. Dark energy reactions? Possibly. Either way, these aren't outcomes of nature, these are designs. And here's the final twist in this part. While Atlas glows green with a photochemically active tail, the escorts glow green too, but with zero visible outgassing or sublimation. That means they're not venting ice or gas. They're generating light, not reflecting it. So if they're glowing on their own, emitting 20 gigawatts made of rare metals and not cooling off, then the only thing scarier than what they are is who made them. Directed signals and the moon activation theory. As if synchronized glowing probes suddenly appearing in our solar system wasn't enough, what happened next turned speculation into full-blown concern. On October 4th, just 2 weeks after the companions revealed themselves, radio telescopes in New Zealand and California picked up something deeply unsettling: a focused energy burst coming from one of the 9 escorts. It wasn't a random flare, it was a precisely aimed radio pulse, beamed toward a specific region on the moon's surface, striking an area known as the Mare Crisium Mascon Zone. For decades, scientists have puzzled over these mass concentrations, or mascons, gravitational anomalies buried deep beneath the lunar crust. They don't match standard geological models and have long been suspected of hiding something denser, older, or artificial. The energy burst wasn't just powerful, it was structured. The signal had amplitude variation, frequency harmonics, and polarization shifts, hallmarks of coded information, not natural radiation. According to a leaked technical memo from the International Lunar Observatory Association, the burst lasted 1.4 seconds, repeated once after 43 seconds, and then stopped entirely. And here's the twist. That 43-second interval perfectly matched the pulses detected by magnetometers across Earth during that same window. Animal behaviorists began weighing in next. Whale pods in the Pacific began changing course. Migratory birds in the northern hemisphere altered their patterns. Beekeeper reports from Eastern Europe showed mass hive disorientation. It was as if the planet's magnetic skeleton had subtly twisted, or tuned, in response. So what does that suggest? Some believe the moon is a dormant node in an ancient interstellar network, left behind by whoever or whatever first visited our solar system. A device, a listening post, maybe even a lock waiting for the right frequency to open. It's not just science fiction. A 2024 white paper from the Beijing Lunar Research Center even theorized that some mascons might be non-gravitational in origin, caused by ancient foreign mass deposits or devices beneath the crust. The burst from the Atlas escort hit one such region dead on, not by accident, not by drift, by design. And the world's most powerful institutions said nothing. The rendezvous corridor and the arrival of Swan R2,
along with the oncoming giant SWAN-R2, were set to align within a narrow solar corridor in mid-October.
As scientists scrambled to understand the Atlas convoy, a new alert came in from the Swan Comet Watch project. From the opposite end of the sky, another object, far larger, far brighter, was heading straight for the sun. It was designated C/2025 R2 Swan, and it wasn't subtle. With a coma over 100,000 kilometers wide and a tail stretching 5 times the width of the full moon, Swan R2 was the largest interstellar object ever detected. But what made this even stranger was timing. Swan R2 was set to reach perihelion, its closest approach to the Sun, within 3 days of 3/1 Atlas. And not just near the same star. Their solar paths would intersect in the same narrow corridor of space, less than 50 million kilometers apart, the same distance that separates Earth from Venus. Astronomers were stunned. This isn't just rare, it's statistically impossible. For 2 unrelated interstellar visitors to arrive from opposite directions within days of each other into the same solar window? That's not random motion, that's scheduling. And it gets worse. That exact corridor, the zone where the sun blinds Earth's most advanced telescopes, is referred to by NASA as the solar blackout zone. Any object entering that path during this window becomes invisible to Earth-bound and near-Earth orbiting instruments. In other words, Atlas, its escorts, and Swan R2 would all be undetectable for nearly 72 hours. The perfect moment for a private rendezvous. Now pair this with what we know. Atlas's 9 companions are glowing, powered, and suddenly activated. Swan is massive, bright, and moving too fast for typical cometary motion, and both are converging in a temporary blind spot. What do you call that? A meeting, a transfer, a handoff, or worse, a synchronization event. Astrophysicist Dr. Camila Torres of the European Southern Observatory gave a private lecture, leaked online, in which she posed a chilling possibility. If these are probes, Atlas may be the advance team, Swan R2 may be the carrier, and the blackout is not an accident. It's the switch. Governments responded with eerie silence, but behind the scenes, movements suggested panic. China's Long March 9 project, dormant for years, suddenly fast-tracked prototype launches. The European Space Agency quietly revived its abandoned Don Quixote asteroid intercept program. Even SpaceX was seen launching unannounced payloads with unknown destinations. Yet the public still told nothing. Because if this isn't a coincidence, then something knew when to arrive. Something scheduled this rendezvous before Earth even had telescopes. The historical pattern, ancient warnings, and the 2,200-year cycle.
As dark comets would not need to release dust, as they were simply reconfiguring their structures and releasing the pockets of invisible gas.
While modern telescopes race to keep up with the movements of 3I Atlas and its bizarre entourage, a different kind of data began surfacing. One not stored in observatories, but in ancient archives. Researchers at the University of Beijing and Oxford's Department of Archaeology began pulling references from Chinese imperial star records, Babylonian clay tablets, and European medieval chronicles, all pointing to an unsettling pattern. A green-tailed visitor in the sky, appearing every 2,200 years, always accompanied by signs of upheaval, weather shifts, and strange behavior in animals. According to translated inscriptions from the Han Dynasty, a celestial serpent with glowing green breath was seen slithering across the night sky in 200 BCE. The records note, the dragon's 9 eyes blinked open, mountains trembled, the emperor sealed the northern tower. 9 eyes, not stars, eyes. Then there's the Babylonian splitting star described in cuneiform, a comet that appeared to fracture in the sky before vanishing. That tablet, dated to around 2000 BCE, speaks of heavenly guards released by the traveler, and again, 9 figures flanking a central one. Fast forward to 997 CE, a period when European monastic scrolls recorded the appearance of a green banner of fire with 9 torches above the forests of Burgundy. That year, a string of crop failures, magnetic anomalies as described by compass builders in the Arab world, and strange illnesses were also recorded. Historians long dismissed these as mythological embellishments. But now, with Atlas and its glowing green tail flanked by 9 heat-radiating objects, these ancient tales feel less symbolic, more observational. According to a 2025 comparative astronomy study by the Max Planck Institute, the orbital alignments of 3I Atlas, the approach of Swan R2, and Earth's position during October create a configuration eerily similar to sky maps preserved in the Temple of Hathor in Dendera, Egypt. Those maps, once thought to be ceremonial, now appear to be records of skywatching patterns we're only now able to decode. The terrifying implication? This is not humanity's first contact with this convoy. It's just the first time we're technologically advanced enough to track it in real time. The shadow arcs, invisible trails behind the convoy. While the astronomical community remained fixated on the 10 visible objects, a subtle discovery quietly slipped through the radar in early October. Deep space gravitational modeling teams at the University of Tokyo and MIT's Kavli Institute detected something unusual: the movement of smaller objects in low reflectivity orbits trailing far behind the main convoy. Not just 1 or 2, hundreds. Unlike the bright escorts, these objects were invisible to optical telescopes. They weren't glowing, they weren't reflecting sunlight, but they were deflecting gravity, enough for orbit prediction algorithms to flag them. These ghost objects appeared only through transient gravitational lensing effects, subtle warps in background starlight as they passed by. Their formation? A long spiral shadow trail behind the main convoy, some drifting thousands of kilometers behind Atlas, others embedded in spiral arcs, rotating slowly, like a wake behind a ship. It wasn't debris, it was patterned. Harvard astronomer Dr. Lynn Costa dubbed them the shadow arcs, and proposed they might be stealth probes, sensors, or passive field generators designed to scan, map, or interfere with local space-time.
3i Atlas comes back into view. Right now, it is hidden behind the sun, and during its closest approach, Earth-based telescopes are not going to be able to see it. What's worse,
even more astonishing, two of the objects were observed for a brief moment by the DART debris tracking array, using long-wave infrared. Their surface temperatures were artificially cold, near absolute zero, far colder than deep space itself. That's not natural. That's thermal masking. Some believe the shadow arcs are cloaked units, engineered with materials that absorb radiation and deflect radar, making them invisible by design. A few defense specialists warned they could even be autonomous decoys, capable of mimicking gravitational signatures while remaining undetectable to traditional instruments. But the most chilling theory came from a leaked internal report from the European Space Agency's Space Weather Division. The report claimed the arcs weren't just following the convoy, they were mapping planetary magnetospheres, hovering briefly near the outer edges of Jupiter, Venus, and even the Kuiper Belt before aligning with Atlas's route, as if building a magnetic topology of the entire solar system. And when tracked backwards, their origin point didn't align with Atlas's original path. In other words, they didn't come with Atlas. They were already here. The sound that shouldn't exist, unexplainable vibrations beneath the Earth. While the world's attention focused on the sky, tracking the glowing escorts of 3i Atlas, decoding signals to the moon, and speculating about Swan R2's convergence, something began to stir beneath our feet. On October 9th, multiple infrasound monitoring stations, used by the Comprehensive Nuclear Test Ban Treaty Organization to detect clandestine nuclear detonations, picked up a strange, low-frequency vibration reverberating through the Earth's crust. The signal wasn't seismic, it wasn't tectonic, it was something else entirely. The vibrations pulsed in a perfect 43-second interval, the same exact rhythm previously linked to Atlas's companions and the moon-directed radio burst. What made it even stranger was that the infrasound didn't originate from any single fault line, volcano, or impact zone. It was global, distributed evenly across the planet, as though the Earth itself was being pinged like a tuning fork. These subaudible waves were most intense around tectonic plate boundaries, magnetic anomalies, and, curiously, sites with ancient megalithic structures. From Giza to Göbekli Tepe, from Stonehenge to the Nazca Plateau, infrasound monitors registered consistent spikes. The implication? These locations, all aligned with ancient skywatching practices, may be resonating with a frequency not heard in millennia. A team at Japan's National Institute for Earth Science and Disaster Resilience cross-checked the data with deep Earth resonance models. They discovered that the frequency was interacting with what's known as the Schlichter mode, a theoretical oscillation of Earth's inner core, so subtle that it has never been conclusively observed, until now. And then came the eerie human reports. Thousands of individuals from remote locations, from Mongolia's steppes to the Australian outback, from Andes highlands to rural Alaska, began describing the same sensation, a low hum that wasn't heard with ears, but felt through bone. Some said it made their teeth vibrate. Others felt it in their chests. There were no local earthquakes, no wind, no audible sound, just an unshakable pressure like being inside a giant subwoofer. These reports matched precisely with the infrasound spike locations. Some neurologists suggested magnetoception, a rare human sensitivity to changes in Earth's magnetic field, might be involved. Others raised the stakes further. If these pulses were meant to awaken the moon, could they also be awakening the Earth? Because what's more chilling than an interstellar convoy of powered objects? The idea that Earth itself, the very planet we live on, might be a dormant receiver, a component in a larger network, one that just received its first signal in over 2,000 years.
We'll pick out objects that are moving inside of the four frames, and we have to identify if they are real or if they are false detections.
And it's humming back, Could Earth itself be part of a cosmic system we never knew existed? What if we were never alone, but observed? Subscribe now and tell us, what do you think they're really here for? Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.